am so grateful to be involved in the beautiful energy with HerStory, and thank you, Gertrude, for the invitation. Adriana, I can feel for you because I am in touch with so many people who go through so many autoimmune conditions. But today's talk is all about connecting hormones and mood. Women are powerful. We do, we work, we do domestics, we carry and we even manufacture a life within our body. We carry we give birth, we bleed, we wear many hats. We may be a wife or a mother or a grandmother. We may be a boss, a worker, executive. And we do this because we are empowered. We enliven ourselves. And what's responsible for it? It's hormones. Hormones are vital, make us feel vital. They make us feel energetic. They give us sexuality, give us our curves and our zest for life. Our entire personality, our energy, and how we cope is in actual fact driven by our hormones. Of course, it's driven by all the other physiology, but hormones play a vital role. A strong woman looks at a challenge in the eye, it'll give it a wink. And so what breaks us down? You know, you will find that we go through so many changes in our lives. We can become vulnerable, we become fragile, moody, or irritable. When we go through hormonal imbalance, this could be during PMS or PMDD, which is basically premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It's a combination of PMS and depression together. There could be estrogen receptor positive proliferation. Now, we all know about that because we all have fat cells that we don't necessarily want it. We could have, you know, butterfly wings or fat behind our back, etc. That is driven by estrogen. Now, some of the health conditions that are really, really associated with estrogen is in actual fact fibroids or polycystic ovaries or hyperplasia of the breasts or the uterus, these or endometriosis. Your body goes through fertility issues. They may go through amenorrhea, which is actual fact loss of period, or menorrhagia, which is too much bleeding, or menopause. All of these phases is what one woman goes through throughout their life. And it's interesting to note that we all know that hormones actually peak when we are around 20, 30. This is when our sexual function is active, we are in our reproductive years are established. And then it starts to decline. And as it declines over the years, we lose our mojo, okay? And when you have a really challenging time, let's say you have a major trauma event or domestic violence or something that's significant that drives, even like Adriana was saying, fibromyalgia. These autoimmune conditions or trauma can exacerbate and bring forward your hormonal changes much quicker. So today you can actually find people that have, you know, young girls, instead of menstruating at the age of 13, they're menstruating at the age of 9. Women who are going through perimenopause, typically after 50 years old, are now going through it at the age of 40 plus years old. So here we can see that we're being exposed to so many xenoestrogens. These are the bad estrogens in our foods, in our products that we apply, and so forth. So this fluctuation in our hormones is literally driven by two hormones. One is progesterone and the other one's estrogen. Estrogen is really considered to be the household heating oil of womanhood. This is what makes us feel fiery and sexually vibrant, and it also makes us feel pretty ordinary, okay? So the two major hormones that play a role here are, as we said, are estrogen and progesterone. They involved in brain development, in neuronal plasticity. They play a really critical role in learning, memory, cognition, emotions, moods. And this is controlled by our neurotransmitter systems. So our happy and sad brain chemicals are in actual fact our neurotransmitters. And there is science-based biochemical correlation between neurotransmitters and mood. Okay, so if you know that if you, let's say, a young girl who's on an oral contraceptive pill, they would over a period of time deplete. There's a drug nutrient depletion, so they deplete their levels of, just by taking the pill, they'll deplete the body's production and utilization of vitamin B, zinc, and it'll increase copper. Now that combination will actually cause headaches, insomnia, fatigue, etc., but they affect the nervous system. So oral contraceptives in some people cause personality changes. They gain weight or lose weight. They get headaches. They get weight issues. They get clotting in the blood. This is why we look at clotting factors when we're supplementing with hormones. If there's a family history of mental health, like you get depression in the family or schizophrenia in the family, etc., there's an exacerbation of that mood pathology, and that coincides with hormonal issues as well. So during pregnancy, some women get postnatal depression, postpartum, or even starting a pill at a young age. Now, the biggest driver is stress, because progesterone actually makes cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. So as stress goes up, it sends signals to the brain and it says, hey, there's stress in the body. So the adrenaline starts to be released from the brain. So you get this adrenaline rush, right? A flight, freeze system. But these adrenal hormones actually come from dopamine. So dopamine is your reward hormone. Everybody's heard about dopamine. We all need a lot more dopamine. And guess what? A libido, we think libido starts with testosterone and we need to push testosterone up. No. Libido starts here, okay? You fall in love. Oxytocin is a sort of a cuddle hormone. That gets released. Dopamine is your libido hormone. So only when dopamine gets released, then it'll stimulate the gonads to release testosterone. So can you see what I'm bringing in words that you might not be terribly familiar with, but you've heard about it. We know, all women have all our progesterone and estrogens. We know that things can go wrong, but they affect our mood. And there's a biochemical highway between our hormones and our mood. So when I don't know, most of us may have had children. So when you first fall pregnant, does anybody remember how wonderful it feels? You just feel so relaxed and you want to sleep all day. And that's because progesterone in your body, the moment you conceive, the body naturally makes 400-fold more progesterone. And it's doing that for a reason. It's protecting the endometrial lining so that you're providing the right house for the new baby inside your belly. But progesterone, increases in progesterone will also increase GABA. So GABA is a naturally, like, when you can't sleep at night and you're not being able to maintain a sleep, that's a depletion of GABA, because GABA is needed to maintain that sleep. So this is the reason why we find that menopausal women are always anxious. They're always feeling overwhelmed and they can't cope. And, they could do all sorts of things in a day, but now they find when they're menopausal, they find, my God, hot, bothered, irritable, moody, dry skin, dry vagina, decreased sleep, all of those things, right? But what in actual fact happens is the low progesterone depletes GABA. So GABA, therefore, progesterone talks to GABA, dopamine talks to testosterone. In PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, is when, you've got your PMS patient who's terribly depressed. That is it's very debilitating, mind you. It's basically menstrual magnification. You get major depressive disorders, you get panic, dysphoria, generalized anxiety disorder, GAD. So what we need to be aware of is that we can measure these hormones, the neurotransmitters. In the conventional doctor arena, blood hormone, hormones are measured in bloods. But you can actually measure, these are protein-bound hormones. You can actually measure hormones in saliva or in urine. It'll give you the bioavailable and active form of these hormones. And your neurotransmitters can actually be measured in I usually use a questionnaire to gauge whether there is a need to actually measure neurotransmitters. So these are serotonin, dopamine, noradrenaline, adrenaline, GABA, and so forth. That can be measured in a urine test. So you must remember that we make our own hormones. We make our own neurotransmitters. And it's made, neurotransmitters are in actual fact made from specific nutrients and specific amino acids. And this is why I have written a book on alchemy of the mind, as well as alchemy of the amino acids. And these are really aimed specifically at, it comes with master classes as well, but it's aimed specifically to identify what's going on in terms of your happy and your sad brain chemicals, but they never deplete on its own. There could be a stress component that contributes towards neurotransmission imbalances, and this is when we might look at the degree of adrenal dysfunction. Let's say somebody who's going through a person who is possibly a hairdresser, for example, just as an example, and they get exposed to all of these chemicals, etc., and suddenly they become very, very sensitive. It's called mast cell. Everything sensitizes them. They walk past a body shop and they find that they can't tolerate it, or they have a more severe condition like mold or Lyme, etc. And these conditions then increases that sensitivity. That develops so much inflammation in the body, and that also further downgrades your neurotransmitters, and there are chemical reactions that actually cause this. And this is the reason why.
3 minutes.
This is the reason why I would look at the science-based model. I know that Adriana spoke about breathing exercises and controlled breathing. Wim Hof is a great app to look at in terms of using controlled breathing exercises. They are very, very important. But often you will find that if you're looking at a depressed person and you're giving them all the psychotherapy under the sun and ask them to meditate, they're not going to be able to do so. So by regulating that chemistry in the body, rectifying that to a certain extent, and naturally, that's when you can open the door and say, hey, now I'm ready to approach, and I can actually sit down and meditate. And this is what I've heard from some of my clients. So I've actually, so I suppose I've delved into this area purely because I went through a health crisis many years ago, and I had to open the door to, I know that I was trained in the pharmaceutical model, and I knew that the pharmaceuticals were not working for me. So that's when I went ahead and trained in all these other areas, and I decided to compound my own medicines. And that's how I actually, it actually started with one lady who came into my pharmacy one day, and she was extremely anxious, really panicky and anxious. She felt like she was having a heart attack. So I put together a combination of 3 amino acids for her, and I gave her a dose of it in the pharmacy as she was there. She calmed down within minutes. And she said, wow, what did you do? What did you give me? Why do I feel so different? This is a different me. And that's when I decided, well, I've got to now start opening the door and learning more outside of the pharmaceutical model. And that's how I trained up in all these other areas. But being a pharmacist, I like to look into the science-based model as well. So I look at the evidence, and I also look at evidence-based nutritional therapy that is tailored, targeted, and focused specifically for you. So I'm going to be talking a lot more about hormones and mood, connecting the dots between them at a workshop with HerStory. Thank you, Gertrude. On Melbourne time, 9 a.m. on the 17th of December. So I look forward to seeing you then. And I will pop a questionnaire on the link here to give you an opportunity to possibly look into getting an understanding of where your hormone levels are and what does it mean to have an estrogen dominance or estrogen deficiency and so forth and so on. So I'll send you the link as well as my contact details, and you're welcome to contact me. We do online consultations and so forth, but we can, you know, have a free introductory call as well. So I can talk further, but I think that...